Hello, I'm Maxim Galushenko from Kyiv International School, and today I will talk about loneliness. You probably know that feeling, when you're alone at a lunch table, or when no one wants to meet with you, or when no one picks up the phone. We all had those moments when we just wanted to have some basic human interaction, but we simply couldn't. In case you didn't know, that was loneliness. Loneliness is a very common feeling in the world today. From some research that was done by the Mental Health Foundation, it was found that 60% of the population of the UK feel lonely. There's been a misunderstanding about loneliness recently, so I need to explain a few things first about loneliness. Loneliness is different from being alone. Loneliness is the sadness brought on by the lack of friends or company. A person can be totally alone and be happy, or spend hours with people and hate every second of it. A person also doesn't need to be lacking social skills to be lonely. The NPR has found that lonely people have better social skills and can easily detect social cues or expressions. Loneliness purely generates from our social need to be together. The NCBI and the Mental Health Foundation both have said that we are social creatures. We work better together. This is why our body had evolved social pain. It was something that would make a person pay attention to their social needs and give them a higher chance at survival in the early world. A person named John Capaccio had said, quote, "Had a zookeeper been asked to construct a suitable enclosure for man, his instructions would have warned him about the obligatory social needs of our species." In the modern world, we are living in the most connected yet separate life we could ever live. Although modern communication is at an all-time high, studies done by the CIGNA, the Mental Health Foundation, and many independent psychologists show that we are getting lonelier. The average friend group in the United States had shifted from 3 in 1985 to 2 in 2011. It was also found that loneliness rates were rising each year and the effect of loneliness were getting more severe. The effect that loneliness has on a human depends on the amount of time a person experiences loneliness, says the CIGNA. In a 2011 study done by the CIGNA, it was found that loneliness on its own did not have drastic effects on the human mind. Instead, it was the long-term exposure to loneliness that ended up in the development of chronic loneliness. When loneliness becomes chronic, it becomes a danger. The Social and Personality Psychology Compass had stated that the stress that comes from chronic loneliness is one of the most unhealthy things a human can experience. Another book, called the Journal of Psychology, had said that chronic loneliness is twice as deadly as obesity, and the CIGNA had found that chronic loneliness is as dangerous as smoking a pack of cigarettes each day. We are all very well aware of the dangers that things like smoking or obesity are. Despite that knowledge, we don't see chronic loneliness or just regular loneliness treated as a danger. Instead, it's something wrong, something to be ashamed of, something incorrect. Imagine making fun of a person with malaria for the fact that they have malaria. Most of the people would say that this is wrong. Then why do some of the people do the same thing to people with loneliness? They are fueling a fire that already fuels itself. Sage journals had found that when a person gets chronic loneliness, it then begins to fuel itself. What this means is that chronic loneliness makes the person more antisocial and in turn makes loneliness more chronic. The NCBI and the massive study done by many independent psychologists across the United States had shown that people with chronic loneliness have shown to be more alert to social signals, but they misunderstand them. The ability to recognize faces becomes out of tune, and in turn this causes more misunderstanding. Imagine going to a party just to see that everyone is mad at you, but they're not doing anything. Or seeing someone cry and thinking, what a high ego they have. But something feels wrong. Faces of joy become faces of rage, and sadness becomes pride. These people can't understand us, and in turn we misunderstand them and isolate them. Even though loneliness is more common than other mental disorders like anxiety or depression, it still gets less attention than the others. A group of psychologists from Psychology Today had found that on the database, the active projects for disorders like depression had reached 3,529, while for loneliness, there was 46. Even though loneliness is a very common problem today, like every other problem, it has a solution. The solution to loneliness can only be enforced by one person. That person is you. You are the only person that can change loneliness. Only you can break the cycle that is loneliness. Loneliness is not a disorder. It is a normal thing of life that has existed for hundreds of thousands of years. It may still exist in the modern world, but that doesn't mean that someone can't help themselves and a few people from it.